All right, I believe we're live, and it has been for up to 2 months since I've been online. If you're having any trouble hearing our audio, let us know. During the 2 months, we replaced our entire computer system with a very expensive one, very high powered, and we learned we had further audio problems with our last professional mic. So now we're moving on to a X version, which is much better. That being said, my name is Jay. I am an expert consultant in the field of Section 8 and housing and low income housing. The company's been working with clients to get them housing, work and navigate the system of Section 8 and low income housing for a very long time. And I am now back. And the plan is, I believe, is an update. I will be doing videos on Sundays only. As most of you know, I do face retirement after all this time, but I'm going to give some updates about that because it will likely not be a complete retirement, not at first. We're going to be reducing the amount of cases and calls that my office receives by nearly 80%, okay? Which is pretty significant. But the good news is we're also running a sale this month, and that's for those of you who've been so patient, and I'll make some announcements about that in the next few days, okay? Beyond that, I want to mention one thing about the market. We're facing some big challenges for 2023. You know, when you look at this, you look at election season coming up, you're looking at funding coming in from the feds and HUD, and you're also looking at a reversal of what may be some defunding. And you know, we're on a very delicate balance with federal funding and those that need to receive housing vouchers and subsidies and low-income housing. And as it plays out in a market that's already hypertense and potentially a little bit overheated in some areas, even in a bubble, it creates some pretty intense emotions for a lot of people because, you know, we had a lot of federal dollars for the pandemic, and now we're in a new system of things now where the funding is dried up. And of course, many of you know, as you see me year after year, during the summertime, it's especially hard to get housing and vouchers because so many housing authorities have already burnt half their budget, and they're not going to want to dump the rest till typically around the September to December area where they know they're on a new federal budget. Beyond that, I have changed hours again. We have appointments during a very small frame of time each day, every day of the week now to better service. But it's only 2 appointments a day. So it's either we're talking about dealing with cases or we're dealing with somebody that needs some preferential information. Reason is sitting on the phone for 6, 8, 10 hours has become a rather difficult part of this retirement deal. And so I feel it best to service only 2 to 3 clients as part of the retirement plan as I'm phasing out. Also, casework services will no longer be available at all on our website, okay? Just 15 and 30-minute calls. I only take a certain number of cases, probably 4 to 8 a month now versus 40. And those 4 to 8 cases, unless people preferentially know to ask for it, I'm not going to really just advertise it, okay? Again, that's part of the plan to de-escalate through the retirement issue, which is coming around November, okay? Beyond that, you should expect regular updates and videos now that I've cleared things. Now, most of you don't know this, as like anybody that's retiring from one career and moving on to something different. I had a great amount of time that I had to expend dealing with a particular stores that I own and are developing, and these stores required a lot of attention, so I didn't have as much time as normal. So we can't, you know, everybody has to work till they die pretty much these days. So retirement's never truly that. So beyond that, I like to say that the market right now is definitely overheated in relation to vouchers. It's difficult out there. We should start to see a little bit of the market change as we approach September. And then, of course, September through about April of every year is the most preferential time to seek housing and to seek vouchers, because that time of year, the market is chopped in half and it becomes easier. It doesn't mean that summers are impossible. It just means that everybody has the same thought process through the summer, and it becomes harder. Statistically speaking, success rates with casework for those of you seeking vouchers, where I'm working with you guys for 4 months, we're at about 91%, which is actually down. And that's mainly because we're in summertime. And not only that, but all the pandemic dollars from the government, the Treasury Department, and HUD have started to dry up. Of course, we expected that. So the difficulty level is pretty high. The bar is pretty high right now. But that's not necessarily bad news for those that contentiously decided, hey, you know what? I want to work with Jay. I want to work with section8consulting.com, and I want to get a housing voucher, and I want to get through the system. But if you started now, then we will likely land in a great period through September. Under no stretch of the imagination can people simply go out and grab a voucher. No housing authority in America. It's not like McDonald's. You're not going to drive through and they're going to print you out a voucher, even if you think it's an emergency. Now, there are different ways to get vouchers in different organizations, whether it's a federal level, state level, even the county level, and nonprofit level. Some things can be done in a month or two. Other things are going to take you 4 months. In the more extraordinary cases, 6 months if you've got an exceptional consultant, okay? In relation to the average person going out, say Nancy and Bob sitting around the coffee table deciding whether they want to get a voucher because of tough times, without working with a consultant, you would probably end up in an arena of somewhere between a couple of years to 15 years because there's a lot to learn. Okay, I'm going to be honest. When you consider that we have 2,800 plus housing authorities, 2,800, each one of those housing authorities, they don't operate at a federal level. So in other words, every housing authority is looking at its local community and it's deciding its policies and procedures. So what works with one housing authority will not work with another. And their policies, procedures, data manuals, and all the things that they're doing to consider your case and preferences, the things that matter and fundamentally raise you higher or lower on a waiting list or get it done quickly, are going to change. You see, that's why working on cases at minimum is 4 to 6 months. Those of you that are facing homelessness, I would suggest that you're facing a different situation where there's a potential that things could happen in 30 days. Sometimes it takes 60 or a little bit longer. And in those cases, through CES or coordinated entry system, you might be able to predeterminately get an emergency housing voucher depending on the actual case details, what you've got going on in your life, and whether or not it's considered a preference to rank you higher for more consideration to receive a voucher early. And I love to beat the old cat to death when it comes to rankings and whether or not you're going to be able to get that stuff very quickly, depending on a number of factors. So, thinking about this, we talked about summer and the difficulty level. We've also talked about preferences and special preferences and to some degree. And I think that for many of you, you need to consider the option of portability. A lot of you think that, okay, well, I live in this county and I've got to go to that housing authority, and that is the only place that will issue me a voucher. Well, let me tell you, anything that's federally funded must come with portability. Some housing authorities are going to argue that point that you must go to our housing authority in this county and in this zip code, and once we give you the voucher, you've got to remain there 12 months. Well, there's a lot of reasons why you don't have to. And when you don't have to, that means that you have access to 2,800 housing authorities. Not only that, but if we consider this, if Los Angeles takes forever, okay, is the most intense and hardest to get a voucher. It takes the longest period to get a voucher. And as I've presented many times in many of my videos, you go to a small county with 600 people and they're offering vouchers. And the worst case scenario being that you might wait 4 or 6 months for that voucher versus Los Angeles that may be 8 to 15 years or more. Then the portability does what in your mind? What it does is it allows you to go to the world's smallest waiting list and port the voucher right back to where you need it in the most intense areas. So by virtue, I would say that you've somewhat legally cheated that system by being able to grab a voucher from somewhere else and then granting your ability to receive the voucher in a very short period of time. Now, of course, we could go on for another 12 hours how all that might play out, how it might work out as well. But I'm not going to do that in this video because I don't have the time, okay? So, but you're starting to see there is more than one methodology, and it's actually real. People do get them in short periods. And, when you think about terms, again, we think about 2022. I reviewed over the 881 cases. I think in total, actually, it was 882. We had 3 failures, and we had 3 that quit or got terminated for different reasons. So you mash those numbers up, it's a fairly high number. So I think you do something long enough, you can do it with your eyes closed. That's true. But many cases are very complicated, which means a part of my retirement is trying to unconvolute a lot of the things that I have to go through in order to get people what they need in the time frame that they're looking to get it. And it means, well, for a lot of people looking onto it, it seems like I'm the weatherman because you don't really know if it's going to rain. But to some degree, you do because you keep statistical data on all clients over a period of 20 years. You know the likely outcomes, but you also get thrown curveballs like pandemics that can raise or lower the numbers dramatically and skew the numbers. But the reality of it is, guys, there's only a couple roads you're going to travel with this. You can go down to a low income property. You can apply there. And if your income's low enough, no other criteria is going to matter. They can either accept you if they have room, or you wait till somebody literally dies in an apartment there, and then you're able to go in and see whether or not they offer you a place. You can go down to the PHA, the Public Housing Authority, in almost nearly every city or county, and you can ask them to sign up for the waiting list if they have one. If it's a small town, that may be a short one. And if it's a big place like LA, then, you might have quite a lengthy wait, years or even decades. So you get the number 2 option out the way, and we open up curtain number 3. And then we're looking at people that experience the most intense situations where homelessness or domestic violence or trafficking may be present. And that system is correlated into a system called coordinated entry or continuum of care. And this system is federally funded and sponsored, and then they assess you. So rather than you dealing with a paper application where you're writing with your own pen and you're telling them about your life and they're determining whether or not they're going to give you a voucher, this would be more of them giving you a phone call and saying, hey, we'd like to know more about your case. We're going to ask you a certain number of questions, and if you answer those questions in an appropriate manner, and we believe that your situation is bad enough, then we're going to be able to grant you what you're looking for, which would be in a voucher. And I think a lot of our clients have been seeking emergency housing vouchers. Sometimes it's successful, and sometimes it is not. Sometimes we have to approach it from a multitude of counties you don't even live in. Part of understanding the fundamental system and Section 8 and all the rest, and you roll it all into one ball, is simply this. If you have a system in place, you understand how that system operates, then you only have 2 options. You can perform to as much as it'll allow you, or you can manipulate the system legally to work favorably for your client, okay? Just like a client being charged with murder, and then say I would be an attorney, and my job fundamentally would be to get them off on murder if I'm really good at my job. In fact, it would say that if I got somebody up on murder that in fact committed murder, you knew they did that, then it would mean I'm really, really good at what I do. So that same philosophy about engineering the system to work, taking a broken system and sometimes being able to temporarily make that system work favorably for a client, is the ultimate goal. And when you achieve that goal, it means that you're probably a cut above the rest. You're that 1% of 100. And that is a lot of what I do. It's not a situation where, do I consider myself important or do I consider myself an expert in the arena? It's 3-tiered, right? It's learning how to deal with the process, actually getting out there and demonstrating the process works, and then showing that you're able to effectively administer that process to your clients. And in this subject matters all around whether or not people get vouchers, or they've got a problem with a landlord or the housing authority or complaint or some type of legal grievance between any number of parties in relation to housing choice vouchers and Section 8. And that is the entirety of my job. Otherwise, you couldn't carry on for 20, 30 minutes in a video and just admit the stuff you tried. So that is the reality of what I do. That is the reality of why I'm going to retire. And part of the reason I haven't already just walked out and just stopped where I currently am is there's really not been a suitable replacement. The remaining consultants that I know in the field, out there in the field, and TikTok and all that, they may or may not be real consultants, but they don't simply possess the skills that would be required to effectively get anything done. I mean, they're great entertainers, obviously, but I don't think there's any professional background with a lot of the folks that tend to make videos and all that. They're not the actual consultants. So, but it does come in useful. People do learn from that. So, look, guys, I have had a wonderful time shooting a breeze with you guys. I am Jay Roulette with Section8Consulting.com, probably one of the most well-known Section 8 consultants in the nation. We've done speaker events with the Legal Aid Society. I've got probably a whole telephone book full of accolades and different things and emails from state universities and other organizations that have collaborated with me over the years. And so I think with some accuracy, I can say that I do know the subject matter very well. And we also work with landlords, and we work with landlords that have properties that can go anywhere from a couple 100,000 to 40 million to date. And so I think that does lend some gravity to what I'm able to do with clients. Anyways, guys, I'm hoping you guys enjoy your wonderfully hot July. I'm going to close down our office for the rest of today, and I'm going to go take a dip in the pool. For those of you that have the misfortune of living in the state of Texas or anywhere in the South, 99% humidity with a heat index averaging 97 to 115. The only place you're going to go is either to the bar to get a cold beer, to the lemonade stand if you don't drink, or the pool. There's not many options without you sweating your guts out. So, and I got to tell you, it's pretty hot. Even when my cat's panting, it's hot. And as a quick update, for those of you pet lovers, many of you know that I've made probably close to 1,000 videos at this point. I'd let you guys know that we did reduce the number of cats that we sponsored from bad owners and other health situations. And we now only have a core group of 4 cats. Found homes for all of them and screened everybody to ensure that all the cats are good. And I will reintroduce the 4 remaining ones of the last count. For those of you that have known us in our channel a long time, there were approximately 32 cats. And I wouldn't recommend more than 3 and 4. So I kept only the most egregious cases, and they're still with us, and I'll reintroduce them in another video. So I've enjoyed talking with you guys, and I will let you enjoy your Sunday unless you live on another side of the planet. Bye-bye for now.